and welcome. You're watching UTV Live at 6.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. These are the headlines.
A former RAF squadron leader claims a helicopter that crashed on the Mull of Kintyre, killing 29 people, was on a show flight to demonstrate it was safe.
They were guinea pigs in my eyes. And the RAF were really on an ego trip. That's how we feel. And they didn't value those lives.
The police moved to tackle the growing menace of online sex offences against children.
A top police officer facing the possible sack over the Hoovergate scandal retires before a misconduct hearing is held.
Drivers beware, traffic disruption is on the way as work continues on the M3.
Also tonight, she's a runaway winner. Get ready to meet the amazing 97-year-old Grace Chambers as she gets ready for her 250th park run.
Then I aim for 300.
So there's no stopping you?
No. Why there's light is hope.
And we have plenty of fine, dry and settled weather coming our way as we move through into the weekend. I'll have all of the details later in the programme.
A former RAF officer claims a military helicopter which crashed during a flight from Northern Ireland to Scotland was on a show flight to prove its airworthiness. 29 senior security personnel were killed when the Chinook crashed on the Mull of Kintyre in 1994.
UTV can reveal that former squadron leader Robert Burke tried to have his concerns about the disaster raised in Parliament nearly 30 years ago. The family of an RUC officer killed is demanding that the government reverse a decision not to hold a public inquiry. Our correspondent Gareth Wilkinson reports.
Mystery still surrounds the disaster on the Mull of Kintyre, where a Chinook helicopter struck a hillside over 30 years ago, killing all on board. 4 crew and 25 high-ranking members of the security forces flying from Northern Ireland to a conference in Scotland. Senior RUC officer Desmond Conroy was among the dead.
To us, he was dad. He was a true family man. He was the centre of our lives.
A grief compounded by a lack of answers about what happened. Chinooks were the Army's workhorses during the Troubles. The helicopter used for this flight was a Mark II version, but it emerged there had been serious safety concerns surrounding the aircraft. A former RAF officer believes it was chosen to prove to the Army that the Mark II was safe following an upgrade. Robert Burke had been a test pilot at the time.
There were obviously major faults with that aircraft. However, the Mark II was sent to Northern Ireland as a gesture by the RAF to show that everything was sorted.
If my dad had have known any of those individuals had have been told, look, this helicopter hasn't got a good track record, none of them would have got on it.
Recently it emerged files relating to the disaster have been sealed for 100 years. Robert Burke saw some documents before they were locked away. Now UTV has discovered he made a failed attempt to have his concerns raised in the House of Commons back in 1998.
This revelation from Mr. Burke is just it's truly shocking, it's devastating.
The allegations have boosted calls for a public inquiry, but in a statement the Ministry of Defence says the accident has already been the subject of 6 inquiries and investigations, and it's unlikely that a public inquiry would identify any new evidence or reach new conclusions. The statement also says neither the RAF or the MOD recognise the term show flight and have no information to support such a theory.
It's heart-wrenching, you know. It's really difficult to think, you know, that we've been kept in the dark and even now all this information's coming to light and people can still say no.
The crash happened in foggy conditions, but it's clarity surrounding the full circumstances that victims' families are demanding. Gareth Wilkinson, UTV Live.
Predators are increasingly targeting children online, and that growing menace has led the police to launch a new campaign to raise awareness about the dangers.
2,000 sexual offences were recorded against children in Northern Ireland last year. 187 of those related to grooming and sexual communication. Jordan Moore reports.
21-year-old Max Hollinsby from Lurgan is behind bars after pleading guilty to 42 child sexual abuse charges across 14 victims. One of those victims has decided to speak out for the first time about her experience. Emmy, not her real name, was 15 when she was contacted by Hollinsby on the social media app Wiz.
He knew what to say. He made me feel special, and I was so vulnerable at the time. At such a vulnerable age, he started demanding things, and I trusted him. So I did what he asked, and that was my first mistake. And then he started threatening me. At the time, I was angry with myself because you feel like it's your fault.
Emmy is one of many victims of a crime growing in prevalence. Last year, the PSNI recorded more than 2,000 sexual offences against children in Northern Ireland. 187 related to sexual communication and grooming. Hollinsby is not the only serial predator from Northern Ireland either. Alexander McCartney from County Armagh, one of the world's most prolific child abusers, was sentenced to life in prison after admitting to 185 charges of online child sex abuse crimes and blackmail. His case resulted in the death of Simran Thomas, a 12-year-old girl in America who took her own life after being targeted and abused by McCartney. Such is the scale of these crimes and their impact that the PSNI have now launched a new social media campaign to help raise awareness and encourage victims to come forward.
My message is that you are not in trouble. You have done absolutely nothing wrong. You will be believed. We can stop this. You do not need to go through this alone. My message is also to parents, teachers, anybody who has a responsibility for a child. Ask yourself the question, do you know what your child is doing online?
But with these predators hiding behind computer screens and fake identities, what can the police really hope to achieve?
There are so many ways to be anonymous online, and that's one of the challenges that police services have in particular. There needs to be more a joined-up approach when it comes to law enforcement and indeed the social media and technology platforms themselves. Let's not forget these technology platforms can do a lot more to keep people safe.
No easy solution for a complex crime. Jordan Moore, UTV Live, Belfast.
Dubbed Hoovergate, it was a scandal that rocked the police, and we recently revealed a top officer was facing the possible sack over the alleged theft of a vacuum cleaner.
But we can now exclusively reveal 4.5 years on and 2 investigations later, that officer has been able to retire before any disciplinary action could be taken. Here's our crime and security correspondent Sharon O'Neill.
Mayhem and murder, a summer of violence in Northern Ireland. Police dealing with all of that and also trying to get their own house in order. 4 officers recently sacked for sending offending messages. Back in June, we revealed police were hoping to clear up a mess dubbed Hoovergate. A scandal involving a top officer, the disappearance of a vacuum cleaner, and claims he tried to blame the alleged theft on subordinates. Now a new twist in this 4.5-year-old saga. We previously told you the officer at the centre of this investigation had been repositioned after the top brass here came under pressure to look again at this case and was about to face a gross misconduct hearing. That meant he faced the very real possibility of being sacked. The latest now? Well, that disciplinary process is dead in the water. That officer hung up his uniform and was able to retire before any action could be taken.
No, you couldn't make it up. There will be a perception this was brushed under the carpet.
This former senior officer turned politician, who used to be in charge of police discipline, says that simply shouldn't be allowed to happen.
It was belatedly dealt with. It's so late in the day, the officer's been able to avoid accountability and retire.
So-called Hoovergate unfolded within the walls of a police station in January 2021, at a time when there were tensions over an alleged 2-tier approach to discipline within the PSNI. It's claimed the disappearance of the vacuum cleaner, which was later returned, was not properly investigated first time round to protect the top officer. We tried to contact him but got no response. A few months ago, the PPS decided not to prosecute the officer for alleged theft. Our latest revelations come ahead of proposed changes by the Department of Justice to police conduct regulations. No interview from the PSNI, instead a statement saying one change would mean individuals who have chosen to resign are being granted permission to retire while suspended and subject of a misconduct process, can either return to conclude the process or it can be concluded in their absence.
I think it's damaging for public confidence in policing, but it's also damaging for the rank and file's confidence in the misconduct system in their own organisation, because there is a feeling that if this was a constable, they wouldn't have got away with it.
An embarrassing episode for police. The dust now settling, if not brushed, under the carpet. Sharon O'Neill, UTV Live.
A 2-minute silence was held at Belfast City Hall today to mark victory over Japan Day.
The Japanese surrender signalled the end of World War II after 6 years of conflict. Rory O'Regan reports.
A chance to pause, to reflect. A commemorative plinth outside City Hall, a reminder of Northern Ireland's role in the conflict once it spread to Southeast Asia. This soldier received the Victoria Cross for sinking a Japanese cruiser in 1945.
James McGinn is a very brave young man from West Belfast who joined the service at 15 or 16 years of age. The courage, the determination and the sacrifice that he made on those occasions will never be forgotten, and it's important for us to have that at City Hall today.
Veterans still alive from the conflict are now few, but those who served in more recent times came to pay their respects.
We should also remember how wretched war is. And you see, soldiers are not the only victims. We need to remind ourselves not to do it again.
Tank advance in the Battle of Shooting Gallery Hill on Peleliu Island.
Hundreds of thousands of British and Irish soldiers fought in Southeast Asia during the Second World War. Each played a key role in defeating Japan, but those who fought were often known as the Forgotten Army, as much of the focus was on the exploits of those serving in Europe.
With VE Day, when you talk to people about their memories, they say, oh, you know, I remember where I was, I remember the street parties, I remember the bonfires. But then you ask them about VJ Day and they're like, well, it didn't really mean as much to them because I think the big enemy was Germany, and once they'd been defeated, well, it didn't really mean as much. There were obviously the Belfast 8th Heavy Anti-Aircraft Battalion, and there were plenty of people that served locally in Burma, India, and places like that.
Cecil Kilpatrick was one of those. He served from 1940 until 1944 in Iraq, India and Burma, now called Myanmar. Back in Northern Ireland for VJ Day, he was determined to celebrate.
They got a boat and they went over to the Giant's Causeway and collected a lot of driftwood and brought it back to make a big bonfire. So they had music and dancing out just along the seafront in Port Ballantrae.
80 years on, we continue to mark VJ Day to ensure the Forgotten Army never lives up to its name. Rory O'Regan, UTV Live, Belfast.
A 5G phone mast has been set on fire in West Belfast. It was targeted on the Glen Road shortly before 9 o'clock last night. It's the latest in a series of attacks on masts in the area. The police say the attacks are causing communication problems for hospitals.
Time now to look at tonight's ITV News at 6:30.
Here's Lucrezia Millerini.
On tonight's evening news, a day of war and peace. The high-stakes summit that could decide the fate of Ukraine. US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin set to meet face-to-face in Alaska. But it falls on the same day as the Forgotten Army is remembered. The UK marks 80 years since the end of the Second World War. And bigging up smaller venues, Coldplay's Chris Martin performs a surprise gig at a pub in West Yorkshire. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now, 2 weeks ago, the closure of the M3 Lagan Bridge caused hours of delays for drivers around Belfast city centre, and more tailbacks are expected this weekend with further works taking place.
The Department for Infrastructure is warning there will be significant disruption, but it's coming under fire for not doing enough to tackle traffic problems. Peter Moore reports.
Journeys that should take minutes took hours. The Lagan Bridge carries 90,000 vehicles every day. 2 weeks ago, it was shut westbound, causing traffic chaos. This weekend, it's the other way round. The main eastbound carriageway here will be closed throughout the weekend, and it means that any traffic from East Belfast and beyond that's going to, say, the International Airport, Belfast Port, or even the North Coast will all be diverted. Most of that traffic will be funnelled right through the city centre. But why are these works needed? The Lagan Bridge was first opened back in 1995 by the late Queen. Fast forward 30 years, these huge concrete columns under the bridge are in need of repair, with bearings just like this one having to be replaced. Why can't this be done overnight?
No, because of the complexity, because the length of time it takes, and because of the need to jack up the bridge. Effectively, when the bridge is jacked up, it's jacked up off the bearings. That destabilises the whole structure on the westbound side. We can't allow live traffic onto the bridge.
Taxi driver Robert McAllister knows Belfast streets better than most.
I started taxiing when I was 19.
He's expecting the roads to be as busy as they were a fortnight ago.
Them journeys in total should be no more 15-20 minutes there and return.
And it took an hour and a half?
At least an hour and a half, yeah. And it brings the whole city to basically a standstill. I've heard some talk that some taxi drivers are actually going to take it off and not work it because they're frustrated. The work has to be done, but through a bit of sensitivity towards, the economy.
Some councillors here at City Hall have accused the Department for Infrastructure of not learning lessons from 2 weeks ago.
Our traffic teams in Belfast are very specialised, competent engineers, and they will assess all the other impacts of road restrictions at the same time. So they will have managed this closure along with all the others to minimise the impact.
The advice: to allow extra time for your journey. And the closures, well, they kick in at 9 p.m. tonight, with the motorway not opening till 6 a.m. on Monday morning. Peter Moore, UTV Live, Belfast.
OK, it's time now for sport.
Yes, here's Ruth.
What a signing! John Mulholland Motors, sponsors of UTV Sport.
Good evening. For the third time in 6 years, Linfield are through to a European playoff. This time it will be against the opponents they know very well. Just last month the Blues were knocked out of Champions League qualifying by Shelbourne. They'll now face the League of Ireland champions again for a place in the Conference League group stage. There's been talk of the pot of money Linfield would get if they qualify for the group stage of the Conference League. They're not there yet, but they did get their pot of gold last night. The Blues edged past Faroese side Vikinar 3-2 on aggregate to book a playoff with Shelbourne.
Pleased with the outcome, pleased to go through. I think the player says at the end before I even spoke, but clean sheet gaffer and we're through, we found a way. All the cliches that we use at times. Slightly disappointed in terms of the second half performance. I think over the piece, certainly the better side went through over both legs.
Man of the moment Kieran Offord put the home side in front with another stunning strike.
Bang! What a strike!
The woodwork denied first Charlie Allen and then Offord on his left foot after that. But it was Matthew Fitzpatrick who helped force the own goal for Linfield's second. Linfield were forced to change their keeper Chris Johns, who had kept them in the game. He got injured while pulling off another vital save. Kieran Offord almost had another magical moment. But there will be more goals needed if Linfield are to reach the group stage of the Conference League.
Kieran's got so much improvement to come. And again, I think people were surprised we moved when we did in January last year. But it was worth, and I said the reasons why we brought him in January was to to get him in and around the dressing room, make it easier for him come pre-season, be ready for it. He faces people up and he just wants to beat people. He's going to lose possession, so it's about mixing his game up at times, being a little bit tighter. I have no doubt in the time that he's here he'll continue to do that.
Next up, it's Shelbourne in the playoff with the away leg first. Do you feel that it's an advantage that you've played them already?
If you ask me in 2 weeks, maybe I'll be able to tell you a better answer. We will need to be certainly better what we have been tonight. And without being manipulative, I don't think I am. They will start as favourites. So it's up to us to see where we've come in the 4 or 5 games that we've played, the 4 or 5 weeks since we played them. And I look forward to the challenge.
Linfield also announced the signing of 20-year-old English winger Sam Taylor from Tranmere Rovers on a season-long loan in the last 24 hours. So while the Blues march on, it wasn't to be for Larne, who exited the tournament despite a credible 0-0 draw with Santa Clara last night. However, Nathan Rooney's side went out to the Portuguese side 3-0 on aggregate.
We've got to be really happy in terms of the group, in terms of obviously what we've done defensively there tonight. We've just said we bow out the competition with our heads held high, especially with the chances that we're creating in the last probably 25 minutes of the game.
A great draw for Larne. Now Rory McIlroy is in a tie for 14th after a level par opening round at the BMW Championship in Maryland. Shane Lowry is also 11 shots off the lead. McIlroy had slipped to 2 over par at one stage, but these birdies at the 9th and 10th holes brought him back to level par. He gets his second round underway in 20 minutes' time.
Got off to a bad start. Sort of pieced it together a little bit in the middle of the round and clawed it back to even par, but yeah, drove the ball terribly. And then, when you're sort of hitting out of the rough in the fairway bunkers here, when I hit the fairways, I give myself chances. I need to hit more fairways the next 3 days.
Finally tonight, Stephen Robinson has signed a new deal at St Mirren that will keep him there until the summer of 2028. That's your sport. Have a lovely weekend.
What a signing! John Mulholland Motors, sponsors of UTV Sport.
Now, staying on the sporting theme, and for many people, lacing up your trainers on a Saturday morning and heading out for the local park run is a weekly endeavour. That can certainly be said for Grace Chambers, who is in her late 90s and set to complete her 250th park run.
Yeah, some of us have a lot of catching up to do. She's been speaking to our reporter, Stuart Robson.
This is lovely, by the way. So that's 2016-17.
Just Park Runner of the Year.
Putting the race in Grace. Today might be a rest day, but there's plenty to look forward to tomorrow. At 97 years of age, this nonagenarian is in no mood to slow down. Her 250th park run beckons in her home city.
Down in Parkrun, I met this whole new bunch of people who I never met before. And I love them and they love me, and that was it. So it's my one thing I look forward to during the week, more than anything else.
UTV first met Grace when she was aiming to hit 200. That's well and truly been ticked off. A broken femur, a number of falls, and open heart surgery, ailments that might make people choose to pack away the trainers for good. But not Grace. Coming through all of those ailments, one step at a time.
I was in the Royal for a week and then I was sent to the Musgrave. And the physio there, he did a tremendous job. He had a bicycle and it was a man's bicycle. He said, could I ride? I said, sure, could. So that was my good foot. I did that, threw my leg over that and went spinning around the house. But he wouldn't let me out into the grounds.
Ormeau Park Run is the most popular in the city each Saturday morning. A joy each week for runners, but so too for those who run it.
We've actually had people say that they came to Ormeau. They come to Belfast for a weekend and they're choosing a park run to go to, and they choose Ormeau because they want to meet Grace, because her fame precedes her, and everywhere she goes, people know who she is. They know her backstory and they know just how incredible she is and how driven she is.
Amazing Grace will step out in the summer sun once more, but don't think this Saturday is where this journey will end. Are you going for a personal best?
I've had a personal best.
Are you
I'm going for 300. You always have to have a goal. You can't live aimlessly. So I always have a goal. So tomorrow's 250. We'll celebrate with Deirdre and all my friends. And I hope I do a good time. if people leave me alone to do it. And then I'd aim for 300.
So there's no stopping you?
No. While there's life, there's hope.
Oh, brilliant. Well done to Grace.
Yes, and good luck to Grace on her 250th parkrun, and to everyone else out there across Northern Ireland doing a parkrun tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a good weekend for running with lots of sunshine on the way.
Yes, here's hoping. Louise has the forecast.
Bringing the warm sunshine outside, inside. UTV weather. Sponsored by the Grant Arona R290 heat pump.
Hello there, good evening. It was another decent day, plenty of spells of sunshine, some fair weather clouds through the afternoon, but as we head into the weekend it is set to stay fine and dry. Lots of sunshine coming our way, and it will feed warm and pleasant in that sunshine, with temperatures staying above average for this time of year, and it's all down to high pressure. The high pressure is moving in, centering above us through Saturday and Sunday, keeping things largely settled. We do have wind switching direction coming from a north-northwesterly direction around that high, so we could see more in the way of low cloud forming around the coast. But for most, it is fine, dry and settled. A few late spells of sunshine this evening, clear skies developing overnight. We have some low cloud there pushing in across the north coast with some mist and fog in places. Temperatures holding up between 10 and 15 degrees Celsius overnight. Tomorrow morning, that mist, fog and low cloud will quickly burn back away from the coast. Bright and sunny spells developing, staying with us right through into the afternoon. A very pleasant day. The warmest temperatures expected to develop across western counties, highs of 24, possibly 25 degrees Celsius with light winds, so not a bad day at all. Across the rest of Ireland, plenty of sunshine, more in the way of cloud building across the southwest with 1 or 2 thundery downpours possible. Temperatures reaching highs of 26 degrees Celsius in the warmest spells of sunshine. Plenty of sunshine through Sunday once again, staying dry into Monday. There is a chance we could see some rain slowly starting to edge in Monday evening into Tuesday, but keep an eye on the forecast for further updates with that. Temperatures once again staying above average for this time of year, with some mild and muggy nights in the forecast too. That is the very latest. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
UTV weather, sponsored by the Grant Arona R290 heat pump.
Thanks for watching UTV Live this Friday. Don't forget, Pammy's back with UTV Live from 7 o'clock, and I'll be back with the late news. That's at 10:30.
Yes, the ITV News continues now with Lucrezia Millarini, but from Sarah, me and everyone here at the UTV Newsroom, have a lovely evening and a great weekend.
Bye-bye.